In the last lecture, we learned how to create a model and how to set up its schema. This lecture is going to be about the Sales Blueprint API and how it automatically generates RESTful routes for our resource. So the resource in question is company. So we created a model for a company resource that has a name, founding date, and employee count. Now, Sales automatically creates a controller for us, as we saw using the command sales generate API. Now, the controller file didn't have anything in it, just a module.exports with an empty object. Now, sales behind the scenes actually creates several controller actions for us, RESTful controller actions that already map to each HTTP request type. For example, here's a list that I have that I made a GitHub gist with this list. If you want to access, by the way, you can go to nvkhope/salesblueprint-rest.md. It's available at gist.github.com/nvkhope, my username, if you want to take a look. Anyway, let's keep on going. So, for example, if you want to get all the companies, that would be a RESTful route like get/the resource. So sales is gonna automatically create the resource controller .find action that already has that logic to retrieve that resource and give back a list of all the resources. Similarly, if you want a specific resource, a get/resource/its ID, that is going to be under the find one controller action that's already implemented by the Blueprint API from sales, and so on. You can do post to create a new resource, and that maps to the create action of the controller. To update, you can do put, and that maps to the update action. For deletion, it maps the destroy action. And there's also another one called populate that if you want to know more about, check the documentation. So the thing is, you don't really see these guys being defined in the code. If you go back to the code, this is company controller under API/controllers/company controller, and there's nothing here. So that's one thing about sales, is does things for you, but you can't really see it here. So in order for us to be able to visualize what's going on here and to see that it's really working behind the scenes, we are going to make all these HTTP calls and see the resources, to create the resources, and so on. For that, we're going to need a REST client, okay? And Sales has something that allows you to create and update and change records all using a get request. I'm not going to use that because I don't think that's proper RESTful. It's not using the proper way of calling an API. So I'm going to use a REST client and make the appropriate calls with the right verbs and so on. So for that, we're going to need a REST client. I recommend you use Postman. Okay, so Postman now is an app by itself. Used to be a Chrome. It still is, but it's gonna become obsolete because Chrome apps are gonna be obsolete. But you can get the app in getpostman.com, www.getpostman.com, and you can download for your platform. And after installing it, we're gonna start looking at that API that's automatically generated in our sales app by the Blueprint API. We're gonna play around and we're gonna create some companies. We're gonna list all the companies, list the specific companies, update a company, delete a company, all that stuff coming up in the next lecture.